Yes, it feels like it's been a while, but we are back. Royal Ascot has been and gone, and it wasn't the easiest week from a punting point of view, but it was a fantastic week nonetheless. I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Jack Dorling. Jack, you joined me at the Racing Post for the whole week. What a week it was. It was so much fun up in London, producing some great content for the Racing Post.
Yeah, look, it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience to be behind the scenes there and see how it's done at the Racing Post for a week like Royal Ascot was just an experience which was second to none. But yeah, from a punting perspective, it was an absolute minefield, wasn't it? It seemed very, very tough throughout the week. But hey, we've come out the other side. We're unscathed somewhat. And let's get into the Northumberland Plate.
Yeah, Jack and I are still recovering. I think we've both got a slightly sore throat at the moment, just recovering from what's been a heavy, long week. But we're back for another weekend preview. We've got action from Newcastle, where we're only going to preview their feature on Saturday, which is the Northumberland Plate. And then we've got Irish Derby weekend, so we'll be covering some of the group races off from the Saturday and Sunday card, which obviously includes the Irish Derby itself. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe as always if you haven't done so already. Plenty of good content coming your way. We've got big festivals still to come. We've actually got the July meeting at Newmarket. We'll be previewing that in a couple of weeks, and obviously we'll be leading all the way up to the Qatar Goodwood Festival, where we'll have an excellent preview ready for that. Right, let's kick off with Newcastle. Then it's the 205 on Saturday. It's the Northumberland Plate handicap. This is on the all-weather, just over 2 miles here, and Post Impressionist tops the market at 5-1. Golden Rules is 6-1. Adjuvant is 13-2. Zoffy is 7-1. Omniscient is 10-1, 12-1. Bar these. It's not the time when it's early in the morning to be saying a name like that. I'm going to kick things off here, Jack. I like two in here. It wouldn't be a race that I'd probably go heavy from a punting perspective, but there's two that I'd like. And the first one would be Vino Victrix for the Huey Morrison Yard. Benoit de la Salle takes the ride. This horse is about 16-1 currently, and I think this horse will get I think Benoit will get a really good tune out of this horse on the all-weather. This horse has recently been running on the turf, actually ran 11th in the Chester Cup, but you go back and look at the form, this horse ran plenty at Kempton, was showing really consistent forms, finishing second and third, dropped down to a really nice mark of 93. I think he could be really competitive off this mark, and he ran in some nice, I think it was the London Stayers qualifier handicaps on the all-weather at Kempton. So he does have a good bit of form there, and I think the switch back to the all-weather could be massive for Vino Victrix. But the one that just stands out and is so obvious, and I know it's been mentioned a lot on Twitter, is Golden Rules for the Deborah Faulkner yard. Oshie Murphy taking the ride here. This horse won. I mean, it's been switched to Deborah Faulkner from the John and Fady Gosden yard, but really is actually quite unexposed when you look at it in terms of sort of the runs this horse has had. Hadn't been seen for 638 days before going to Deborah Faulkner and winning first time up and winning in decent enough style. And you can only hope a £3 rise. You've got to imagine this horse has to be well in. How this horse can't step forward so much from that run, I don't know. After 638 days, I could see this horse just being so well handicapped in this field. As always, there could be some really well handicapped horses in a race like this, and you could end up seeing sort of a Group 3, Group 2 performer sometimes come out of this. But I'd say Golden Rules is definitely one that's going to take a massive step forward. £3, I don't think is going to stop him, and 6-1 maybe a fair price. So I'll have Golden Rules and Vino Victrix. Who's Jack going to have?
Yeah, but he's got a lot to prove, hasn't he? Look, 600 days off. Yeah, he went and won last time out, but he was fourth in the Ascot Stakes as a 4-year-old. Running in the Ascot Stakes as a 4-year-old, I think they probably had higher aspirations for him than then. Because I knew he wasn't he cost a pretty penny, and then obviously he only cost I think about £6, £8. He must have had quite a few problems. First one for me is Nathaniel Green. Stepping up to this trip, closely related to My Frankel, was of course a decent middle distance horse, rated high 90s there before moving elsewhere. Stayed on over a mile and 6 behind none other than Courage Mon Ami last time out, of course, at Goodwood in that handicap. Didn't really stay on in emphatic style, but looked as though the step up and trip could potentially be needed. Gave no kind of account last year on his last run in very, very bottomless conditions at Doncaster, but was fourth, staying on at York over a mile and 6 in a decent handicap, went 4 for 14 there last time out. And of course, in July last year, beaten another than Giovanotto, of course, went and won the Yorkshire Cup. So I think he's probably well handicapped off a mark of 88. He does have a little bit to prove if he wants to stay the trip. He's a double figure price at 12-1. The other one's Top Rate Rodzinski. Had a great race when I think 6th here last year, was Sorry, was it sixth, fourth here last year, and the year before was third here. He's off a much higher mark this year. He's got Conor Planners taking £5 off though, but he's a listed winner this year, and I think he hopefully can take another step forward. He might be able to go third time lucky and win this off top weight. So Roginski for me at 16-1, and Nathaniel Green at about 12-14-1.
Yeah, I like the Nathaniel Green case there. I can see a decent case for that horse. And Hugo Palmer's been very confident with some of his horses. I know he's been on quite a few shows in the last week talking about his horses leading up to the meeting. So yeah, Roginski a fair price as well for Jack. That's the feature at Newcastle. We're going to switch all attentions over the Irish Sea now and go to the Curragh. And we kick off with the action on the Saturday. And it's the 2:15 is where we start, which is the Airlie Stud Stakes 6 furlong contest for the 2-year-old fillies. And Matrika, who was second in the Albany, re-returns. Quick turnaround here. 4-9 favourite. Grand Job 9-2. Gurraberg 10-1. Do It With Style 14-1. Launch is 16-1. Miss Roberts 22-1. And Ash Winder is 33-1. This race here, simple as this. Matrika looks second in the Albany. It's the best form in this race by a long, long way. But Grand Job was second to this horse at the Curragh, Jack, on her only start. Can you see the form reversing at all?
No, not really. Unless the Albany took a lot out of Matrika. You sometimes see it with these fillies coming from the Queen Mary or the Albany. There's a little bit of a quick turnaround. Sometimes at this weekend they come out again, they have a quick reappearance, as you say, and then sometimes disappoint. But look, it's not one that you can really take on. I don't really think there's too much substance behind Grand Job's second there. Matrika was very comfortable at the line. It was very cosy. I know the winning distance of 3/4 length by no means justify Matrika's dominance over Grand Job. And look, the rest of them have a lot to prove, don't they? So for me, it would just be a watching race. I mean, 6 furlong fillies races aren't exactly what I want to get involved in yet, let alone when there's a 2-year-old, and let alone when there's a quick turnaround at Ascot. So it'll be a watching brief for me.
Yeah, 100%. And look, even with the way the price is set up at the moment, you're not even going to get a good price on the without the favourite market on the second fav. So it's just a race worth leaving alone. It really is. But it'd be exciting to see what Matrika can do. It could be a big form boost for the Donica O'Brien trained at Porta Fortuna, who ended up winning the Albany at Royal Ascot. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes on Saturday. Let's move on to a race that is really fascinating. It's the 3:25, which is the Pretty Polly Stakes. This is a Group 1 contest over 10 furlongs. This is for the fillies and mares. And Above the Curve and Via Sistina top the market of 5-2. 9-2 About Never Ending Story. Ross Carberry is 7-1. Insinuendo 16-1. 25-1. And Bigger About the other 4 in here. I think this is the reason I say this is interesting, because we had the big news in the week, which was fantastic from my point of view, that Blue Rosén will be coming to Britain to take part in the Nassau Stakes, which is really exciting. He may even bring Wise Girl over, who was the pacemaker in the Deane as well. That's yet to be confirmed. But what I'm trying to work out now is who are the best fillies that could be taking on Blue Rosén. Blue Rosén currently tops the market, best price 5-2 for the Nassau at the moment. We see Nashwa running this evening at the time of filming. She'll be running at Newcastle. She obviously won the race last year. She could be, one of the main dangers. But I think that Above the Curve, look, you can excuse every run that the first run of the season, where I think Luxembourg was 6th in the race. You saw Luxembourg take a massive step forward, and this is exactly what happened with Above the Curve. I think it was the pre-corrida as Saint-Cloud this horse ran in, and she just showed such a massive improvement to that run. She beat Nashwa that day. She travelled so strong. She quickened smartly. I think she's definitely the main danger to Blue Rosén if the Nassau was part of the plan. I mean, they could have probably done the same last year. It wasn't quite on the agenda, but if they were to come to Goodwood, then this would be an excellent prep for it. But I think that Via Sistina, what this horse did and the way this horse travelled at Newmarket was absolutely brilliant, wasn't it? It was quite electric to watch, and the form isn't actually that bad at all. Al Hussein was second. I mean, I think we're going to see that horse probably at the July meeting at Newmarket. You had Prosperous Voyage in that race. You've got other decent horses. You go through and look at that race, and it was very strong, and she travelled so strongly and won it in really, really easy style. I'd probably take a chance on Via Sistina beating Above the Curve. I do think it's a match race. I can't see anything else really getting involved for some reason. I just see it between the top 2. I think they're just a mile clear. I know Never Ending Story trained by the Master Aidan O'Brien, but I think it's between the top 2. And I'd take a chance on Via Sistina. Jamie Spencer's on board. We know what he can do at the Curragh. And yeah, 5-2 I'll be taking this, Jack. But I'll be waiting to see who's going to be taking on Blue Rosén come August time.
Yeah, I think Soul Sister's probably going to win the NASA. Sorry, Sam, I hate to kind of to squash that for you, depending on what ground we get. I think this is a great race. I think it's a very competitive race. I think we can make a case for anything in the top five of the market. I'm not sure. I'm of the opinion that it's a match race between the top two. If I'm being honest, I think above the curve, look, she's got great strike rate. She's 4 from 9. She knows where the winning post is. She was quite impressive last time out, but she does have that potential to bomb out in there. As we know, of course, Ryan's picked above the curve over Never Ending Story. I always try and make a case for the 3-year-olds in this race because they're getting £10 on ratings. They look well in. But last year, Concert Hall disappointed. And, of course, the year before, Santa Barbara only managed to finish second. So I think it's relatively hard for a 3-year-old to come and win this. Braden O'Brien, it looks like he doesn't usually send his 3-year-olds to come and win this. Via Sistina, as you say, I mean, it was obviously probably has a little bit to prove on this firmer surface than last time out. But Al Hassan went and won last time out, actually reopposing Nashwa at Newcastle in the same race when Nashwa was 2-1 on. So it'll be interesting to see how she goes there. And Astro Bow, easy for me to say, who's in third that day, finished third, not beaten too far in Group 3. Epsom last time out. So look, it was very impressive, but Jamie Spencer's on board. It's probably not going to make it all that easy. I think Via Sistine has a great profile for this race. Reminds me a lot of La Petite Coco, that kind of mould. But I think Ross Carberry is just so consistent, so versatile, trip-wise as well. I think she has a big chance. She did what she did last year. She went and won the Munster Oaks last time out. She was giving second £17 that day. She was fifth on Champions Day in the fillies and mares over a mile and a half. She was actually third in this race last year behind Insinuendo and, of course, La Petite Coco, but she was disqualified because she weighed in too light that day. But she was second to Aristia in the Prix-Jean Romanet in Group 1 company over a mile and a quarter, and I think she'll be staying on over a mile and a quarter. She's very versatile. She stays a mile and a half, even a mile and 6 in the Irish Ledger as well, when she was fourth 2 runs ago. So it'd be interesting to see how she goes on. She's a backward price as well at 7-1. I think she's a decent little win bet. If the Aidan O'Brien pair do kind of fall by the wayside, I think we can discount the 3-year-old there. But I think Ross Carberry 7-1 will be where I'm looking.
Ross Carberry 7-1 for Jack. Yeah, he's a consistent type, no doubt about that. But it looks like come the Goodwood preview, I'll be making Jack's decision when it comes to the Nassau Stakes. I'm not having Soul Sister. I can't have it at all. But look, we've got 4 weeks to wait until we have an argument over that one. Let's go on to the final race we preview on the Saturday, which is the 4 o'clock at the Curragh. We probably won't want to spend too much on this race. It's probably more of a watching brief, but it's the International Stakes over 10 furlongs for the 3-year-old and older horses. Now Riffer, it tops the market for the Joseph O'Brien team at 11-10. Alfred Munnings, last seen being the favourite in a Chesham at Royal Ascot last year, 7-2. Lafayette is 4-1. Mashcore is 12-1. And Self Belief is the outside of the 5 at 16-1. Jack Al Riffer was, I think, an anti-post even money favourite with some bookmakers for the Irish 2,000 guineas. A lot of hype around this horse. Some people saying that this could be the best 3-year-old colt in trading over a mile and even further. We just didn't get to see him. A few setbacks, and this is a really interesting race based on all this.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting race. Al Riffer was clearly looking like he could have been a top-class miler last year. Of course, won on good ground, beating Salt Lake City, and then won the national stakes. I don't think it's the best piece of form in the world necessarily, but it's hard to kind of compare 2-year-old to 3-year-old form. I think the second and third, Proud and Regal was second. I forget who was third. I think it was Chartash. I think they're both rated 109 now. So it's a respectable piece of form. But look, if there was only one of Al Riffer and Alfred Munnings in the market, I'd be saying take them on, find something else. But I think there's a likelihood one of them's going to fire. But I think you're just kind of gambling on which one it is going to be. So for me, this is literally the definition of a watching brief. I hope we do see a superstar come out of it. Even I think Al Riffer, if he's that impressive, they may. I don't even know what entries he holds now. This could actually, no, this is his only entry by the looks of things. But he could be looking for bigger and better things. But he has been met with a couple of setbacks. Alfred Munnings, of course, was very disappointing in the Chesham. It's an absolute mess of a race. It's quite an exciting race as well. You got Lafayette in behind. Even Matt Shaw, who seems to love it around here, was won a big handicap over a mile and a quarter last season as well. I think 15th for 27th in another big handicap, but didn't really get too much of room that day and won over a mile and a half at the Curragh at this course over a mile and a half in listed company. So look, I mean, I'm tripping over my words just talking about it because it's a very tricky race and it'll be a watching brief for me.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating race, and I'd be intrigued to see who comes out on top. Whether we see anything impressive in this, we'll have to wait and see. But I think the main ones that you're going to be hoping could be quite exciting would be the top two in the market, Alfred Munnings and Alriff. Obviously, Lafayette has been, going plenty this season, but wouldn't exactly be a superstar if that horse would have come out and win this race. You'd ideally want one of the top two in the market to win this to show that they're real stars moving forward later into the season. But again, like Jack, this is going to be a watching brief. Whether the next 2-year-old race we're going to be looking at is going to be a watching brief, we'll wait and see. But we move to Sunday now on the 150, which is the Railway Stakes Group 2 contest over 6 furlongs. I haven't got the odds here at the moment, but Buccaneer Fuerte's in here, Democracy, Devious, His Majesty, I Am Invictus, Lightning Army, Mountain Bear, Mythology, Supersonic Man, The Liffey, Unquestionable and Valiant Force are the field currently. I like 2 in here. I like Unquestionable, who didn't turn up in the Coventry for the Aidan O'Brien team. This horse in the Ayrshire Cab colours. I thought this horse on a second start was so impressive. I actually fancied this horse if coming for the Coventry. I think I did give it a mention, but I thought this horse would be a right chance in that. As a course and distance winner, has so much speed. I think this horse has got plenty of speed. I don't think this horse will be going anywhere over a mile in future. I think this horse will be sticking to this distance or, just a tiny bit further. And the other one would be I Am Invictus, who has ran into the back of 2 very exciting horses in terms of the fact that River Tiber on first start and then Pearls and Rubies on second start. Michael O'Callaghan trains. I know Jack's a massive fan of this trainer, but you wouldn't be shocked, actually, Jack, to see this horse maybe even have a trip over to Goodwood for the Richmond, would you?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's funny you actually said that because I'm Victor. I think we'd be able to get a decent double figure price about him on the day as well. He's definitely going to be one of mine because I think you'll be able to get a good price about him. His dam's a half sister to a decent Group 1 winner over 5 furlongs and 6 furlongs, as you say. I mean, he didn't exactly shape as though the step up and trip will suit, but I mean, he's been behind Pearls and Rubies, who was second in the Cheshire, and of course River Tiber, who's gone and won the Coventry in good style. So look, he cost 160 grand as a 2-year-old. I think he's probably going to take another step forward. I think he'll be overpriced. All these Michael O'Callaghan sprinters I find are. Of course, the Michael O'Callaghan stat at Royal Ascot struck again with Navassa Island, who ran no sort of race, did she, when seen in the Albany. So that's a bit frustrating. But look, hopefully I Am Invictus will be able to bounce back. The other one has to be His Majesty, 100%, who was 4th in the Norfolk, drawn on the completely wrong side, won that group. I think he'll go off probably quite a short favourite, about 6-4, 7-4. So His Majesty, I think, will take all the beating, but I Am Invictus will probably be the way the value's looking.
Yeah, His Majesty probably does have the best form in the race, but again, a bit like what we said with Matriki, you're gambling on the fact that the horse, can recover after such a short turnaround. But yeah, I like I Am Invictus. I'd love to see this horse. I mean, we've seen these colours come over to Goodwood before, but a Richmond Stakes could be on the agenda for that horse. I mean, I know Jack and I are obsessed with horses coming over for Goodwood, but the better horses we have there, the better the meeting becomes. So, that horse could be very impressive, and if a double figure price would certainly be worth an each way bet. And unquestionable for me, I just think that this horse here could step forward again. I think it's really exciting sprinter for Aidan O'Brien. Could end up to be a sprinter in time, and we'll have to wait and see. But the Railway Stakes could throw up a good one, I think, this year, and looking forward to that. Final race we look at is the feature of the whole weekend, which is the 340 at the Curragh, 1.5 mile Dubai Duty Free Irish Derby, Group 1 contest, and August Rodin tops the market at 2-5, but why wouldn't he after winning the Epsom Derby? Spreewell is the 5-1 second favourite, along with White Birch. Then we've got Up and Under 12-1. Knight to King is 16-1 and 33-1 and bigger. The rest. Is this a matter, Jack, of leaving the race alone, or is there a bet in this without the favourite?
I think it is very tricky, isn't it? Because I feel like all the time I leave these favourites alone at 3-1 on, 5-2 on. They then go and disappoint. And I think, why am I taking them on? Why have I sat back and watched it? But at the same time, after what King of Steel did at Ascot, it's quite hard to say it was a bit of a fluke in the Derby, wasn't it? He was talked up to high heavens, ran no kind of race in the Guineas, won the Derby relatively comfortably in the end, beating King of Steel, who's clearly a very, very top-class performer. Also, you got Sprewell, White Birch, third and fourth, back in there as well. And I reckon Sprewell will probably be able to close the gap a little bit to Auguste Rodin. Will he be able to turn over Auguste Rodin? I don't think so. Probably the way that I'll be looking is actually just to back Sprewell without Auguste Rodin. I'm not too sure what price that is, but if I can get anything bigger than probably about 13.7 to 4. I think that's a relatively fair enough price. I think he's actually be able to reverse that form with White Birch. And look, I think you got the fourth in the markets up and under who's still actually a maiden. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think it's completely between the top three for the 1, 2, 3. And I mean, I think it'll be the trifecta. And I think it'll be probably in the order of Auguste Rodin, Sprewell, and as the market suggests, White Birch.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think if there is any sort of 13 to 874 about Sprewell, about the favourite, that is the bet in here. I was a big fan of this horse for the Derby. Didn't get the best of runs through, was checked. I mean, was never going to win the race, but was definitely going to finish a lot closer than he did. And I'd love to see Jessica Harrington go and land this race. It'd be an unbelievable moment, considering the circumstances at the moment. But I think, yeah, Sprewell, I think 5 to 1. I'll be looking without the favourite, and we'll have to wait and see. Look, Auguste Rodin, he could be just different gravy, couldn't he? He could be a real superstar, and we just have to excuse what he did in the Guineas. So, an exciting race. I'm looking forward to seeing if Auguste Rodin can really, put in a strong display. But I'll be with Sprewell without the favourite, and so will Jack. And that is our weekend preview. Felt so weird coming back after a big week at Royal Ascot, Jack, but it's look, it's a really good weekend. There's something for everyone this weekend, and the Irish Derby is a fantastic meeting. I've been over there a couple of times myself, and anyone who is going, honestly, you'll have a great time. Best bet this weekend, Jack. It might not be easy, but if you had to pick one out this weekend, who do you reckon you'll be with?
It's not exactly a weekend to get luxurious with it, so I think I'll probably go Sprewell without Auguste Rodin.
Sprewell without Auguste Rodin. I'm gonna go golden rules in the Northumberland plate. I'm gonna take a chance, 6 to 1. Oisin Murphy to go and do the business. And that's it for this weekend. We're going to be back next weekend with a weekend preview, which will be the Coral Eclipse, which Jack and I will be attending next week. So anyone who is going, if we are around, do come and say hello. So we're previewing all the meeting from Sandown, which is an excellent meeting. You've got the Coral Charge as well that day and some good handicaps to get stuck into. So we'll be previewing all of those. Big thanks to Jack as always. Big thanks to you for watching. Like, comment, share and subscribe as always, and enjoy the weekend. Thanks for watching.